Hey guys, what's up? It's Mabasei here, and I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna be responding directly to a video as today by one Sargon of Akkad, whatever. His name doesn't matter because he's a right-wing fuckwit. I don't know, I don't care what he says, he's right-wing. So there, on with the video.
There's a young conservative commentator called Tomi Lahren who's gone incredibly viral over the past couple of months, and this attracted the attention of Trevor Noah on The Daily Show. After the interview, which I hadn't seen at the time, I saw many people on social media saying things like, Trevor Noah destroyed Tomi Lahren on Black Lives Matter. I thought, well, that's very interesting, I'll have to watch this interview. And no, he fucking didn't. She absolutely reamed him, and I'll show you what I mean. And I'm going to take the time to really hammer home the points that Trevor Noah conceded or just avoided. And I'm really not going to argue that Trevor was operating in bad faith. I don't think he was. I think he doesn't really know that he's doing what he's doing. For example, the beginning of this interview, he started by poisoning the well against Tomi by trying to imply that she was irrationally angry.
Why are you so angry?
I'm actually not that angry. It's just there's things that need to be said, Trevor, and a lot of people are afraid to say them.
In an angry way. I mean, you can't say you're not angry and, I mean, this is what you're known for.
That was just tone policing, Trevor. She's not known for being angry. She's known for being strident and direct and, honestly, on point, which is why so many people watch her videos.
No, there's just been a resurgence in more so people being a little more right-winged in response to the rise of, I guess, liberal crybabies like myself. That's all that has happened there. I don't know how or where you're getting that from. I guess that's just it. I won't nitpick about your own biases and what you find to be credible and entertaining. Just no, okay? Just no.
Sometimes people just need to be called in their shit.
She's right, Trevor. These people do need to be called on their bullshit. You, in fact, need to be called on your bullshit, which is what I'm doing now. And I'm not a particularly angry person. It's just that there are some things that make me angry. And the very idea that you think, well, you don't have any right to be so angry. Yes, they do. The fact that you can't tell why so many people are so angry at the left, and well, look, we've just been calling you racist for the past 10 years. You can't be angry with us. No, they can and they should be angry.
Why exactly is it that you guys are such fucking crybabies when it comes to being called racist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, etc.? Like, why is that such a big thing with you people? Like, why is that thing like a thing that just makes you feel like it just stops you from talking in general, point blank, like, period, ever?
I mean,
When you say you're though, what in particular? Because this is the thing.
Protesting a fair and free election, that to me, you get called in your shit a little bit. It's time to clear the streets. It's time to accept reality. It's time to move on. Time to make America great again.
You consider yourself a conservative.
Notice how he didn't address that at all. He just decided, right, okay, that's a point I can't debate, and so I'm just going to change the subject. I'm going to slap a label on you, incidentally. But seriously, both Hillary supporters and Remain voters, get over it. You have to deal with the fact that you lost. And the best way to deal with that would be introspection. Would be to look at yourselves and say, right, why did we lose? You could blame it on a giant right-wing Russian-led conspiracy, or you can look at yourselves and realize that the thing you are offering people does not serve their needs. In fact, in most cases, it's insanely bigoted, and people are sick to the back teeth of you. And you've done this to yourselves.
So what exactly is bigoted about things coming out of the left? Like, I know that there's this weird, I guess, stormfront-y kind of notion that I guess the left's very ardent anti-racist sentiment is just code for them being anti-white, but I don't think that most people are even thinking about that. In fact, most polling, etc., it shows that most people who voted for Trump were not even thinking anything about what we here on the left were doing, say on Tumblr or some college campus somewhere. You know, the stuff that you and your camp tend to care so much about. That's actually not what they were worried about. They were worried about, for the most part, jobs. And he promised them jobs. And yeah, that's what he want. That's what people wanted, and they're hoping to get it. Which I don't see it happening. But you know, it is what it is. And as for the get over it part, dude, fuck off. Get over it. This coming from the fucks who have all these little goofy ass YouTube channels where they express their incredibly pissed off, fucking out of date ass opinions based on the fact that their worldview has by and large lost the mainstream culture war. If there's anyone who needs to get over anything, it's probably you.
In terms of Black Lives Matter, like, you know, you have quite a record. For somebody who is not racist, you have to spend a lot of time saying, I'm not racist.
I know you think that's clever, Trevor, but that is actually a damning indictment of your position and the people you defend. So many people who you say are not racists have to constantly defend themselves against accusations of racism. That is not a failure on her part, that is a failure on your part and the people you are defending. Remember this, Trevor. Understand this. Get this through your thick fucking skull, and anyone who supports Trevor needs to understand this as well. You are responsible for her having to defend herself from accusations of racism, when, by your own admission, Trevor, she is not a racist.
No, just no. You actually misheard that one. He said, for someone who is not racist, you sure do spend a lot of your time saying that and explaining how you are not a racist. He didn't actually say that he thinks that she's not. He said, it's right there in your video, actually, for someone who's not racist, you sure do spend a lot of time explaining how you're not a racist. That's what he said, verbatim, literally. So he didn't say that it's not by his own admission. We have no idea, given the available information that we have right now, what Trevor Noah thinks in terms of Tommy Lauren's racism or non-racism. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I think the bigger point would probably be is, aside from that correction, no, just no. That's dumb. You don't need to even. I really don't think that anyone really needs to defend against I guess an accusation that is baseless. If you ask someone, how am I racist, and they can't really tell you, I mean, you just dismiss that person. I have no idea why people are even that worried about it. A bunch of random baseless claims of racism. If someone says that I was racist, that I hated white people or whatever, I would say how, and they would either not have anything to say, any examples, or they would make up some convoluted shit, and I would just fucking ignore them. It makes no sense that these people take this stuff so fucking seriously. And then on top of that, it's not really an indictment of the position. That's just maybe an indictment of, I guess you could say, PC culture. But also having to explain that is kowtowing to it, which is antithetical to her. Some people need to be called on their shit, and people don't want to say what needs to be said. You know, a badass, you know, a narrative there like that. Like that one right there makes no sense. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. I'm a badass who says what needs to be said when others won't. But hey guys, let me preface with, I'm not racist like the same PC crowd that I am criticizing. Why? Let's just move on.
What is your biggest issue with Black Lives Matter?
I think, and I've said this many times, it started with good intentions. I think it was well-intentioned. The moment that they started pushing hands up, don't shoot, which is a false narrative, proven time and time again to be a false narrative, the minute that that became their slogan, the minute that protesting turned into rioting and looting and burning and militant actions, that's when I lost respect for Black Lives Matter.
I just want to point out that she is 100% correct when she says hands up, don't shoot was built on a lie, as this Washington Post article will inform you, to their chagrin. As this author says, what the Department of Justice found made me ill. Wilson knew about the theft of the cigarillos from the convenience store and had a description of the suspects. Brown fought with the officer and tried to take his gun. And the popular hands up storyline, which isn't corroborated by ballistic and DNA evidence and multiple witness statements, was perpetrated by Witness 101. In fact, just about everything said to the media by Witness 101, whom we all know as Dorian Johnson, the friend with Brown that day, was not supported by evidence or other witness statements. The whole thing was bullshit, made up by his friend in an attempt to cover up the bad action.
So fucking what? I always wondered why anti-BLM people think that this is some indictment of the movement. Because they got a case wrong, they're now not worth listening to. Okay, then Sargon, no one should listen to you because now a myriad of times that you've fucked up when it comes to sourcing claims, especially in regards to your videos on feminism. So yeah, no one should listen to Sargon. You hear that, everybody? Everyone watching this video? If you sub to Sargon, unsub. Stop following him on Twitter. Don't listen to anything he has to say because he got something wrong. You know, because people are supposed to be fucking all-knowing, omniscient motherfuckers who get everything right 100% of the time, always, no matter what. Sarcasm aside, that's a really dumb point, and I really wish people would stop using it. And also, I could have swore that BLM in multiple cases has actually disavowed on their website, on Twitter, etc. You know, as for what little organizers there are, main organizers there are, they would actually have in fact disavowed the looting, the burning, the stealing. And a lot of these people, they're not even protesters. Like some of those people, like in this video clip coming up, actually, if you look closely, those are fucking high school kids. BLM was started by mostly some like college going black women who weren't exactly too hot on the concept of cock. And yeah, that was that. And I guess the rest is, then here we are, basically. And I mean, even then, like that infamous video of that guy's mom in Baltimore coming out and kicking his ass because he was, because he was participating in the riot. That's why that is happening. These are fucking teenage kids from low-income areas attempting to get into bullshit to, because that's what you do when you're poor and have nothing better to do because you're poor and you're young, which is always a bad formula. Youth, poverty, idle time, not good. Not a good mix. Always makes for bad show.
Of Michael Brown.
Protesting turning into rioting and looting, that's not a Black Lives Matter phenomenon. That is what happens when there is a protest a lot of the time.
Okay, Trevor, I want you to understand that it is a Black Lives Matter phenomenon. It is also a phenomenon that can occur in other protests, for other movements. And do you know what we do with those protests and movements when they become violent and start looting and burning and beating people because of their race, Trevor? We say that they are not legitimate. They are not upholding the standards we expect in our democracy, and we make sure that they don't have free reign to go around looting and burning and beating, Trevor. We do not make excuses for them and say, well, the rest of the movement's okay, apart from these people who are now chanting for dead cops, apart from these people who have started another riot in another city with exactly the same slogans and exactly the same methods, Trevor.
There were people who rioted and looted when teams won in Chicago years ago. It doesn't mean that they are now bad people. That's what happens. There are some bad people in every instance.
So which one is it, Trevor? Or is it the people who are not bad people are sometimes bad people when they happen to be in the middle of a Black Lives Matter riot?
Going back to Black Lives Matter, though, for you to say that, you say they have good intentions, they had the good intentions. How are you labeling out the actions of a few and condemning an entire group? I don't understand that.
Because A, this is a sizable minority within the group, and the general attitude of the group is one that A, white people are all racist, B, they're oppressing black people, C, they're using the cops to do it, and D, that makes all of the cops racist by definition. The movement that these people choose to align with is fundamentally flawed, fundamentally rotten at the core, Trevor. And I just want to say, you've just totally exonerated Gamergate. You've just totally... So let's assume that there were people in Gamergate who did harassment, targeted harassment for Gamergate. Now, I didn't see any proof of this, but let's just assume it's true. You have just exonerated the whole movement. And I just want to stress that people in Gamergate, the vast majority of people in Gamergate, utterly disavowed those people. You won't condemn Black Lives Matter. You won't condemn the protesters in Black Lives Matter. You will sit there and stumble over yourself, contradicting yourself by saying things like, well, I mean, they're not bad people. I mean, there are some bad people, but they're not bad people. Trevor, you can condemn these people, and you should condemn these people. There should be a zeitgeist within the movement that says something along the lines of, violence is wrong. It's wrong to hate white people. It's wrong to just hate in general. But there isn't. There is, in fact, the opposite. And we see it all the time. Every time someone supporting Black Lives Matter is approached and gets a stage, a microphone gets on camera, they say something unbelievably bigoted. So it's really hard to believe that Black Lives Matter isn't a movement full of bigoted racial supremacists.
They subscribe to the Black Lives Matter movement. They say, we are the Black Lives Matter movement, fry 'em like bacon, F the police.
Blanket, fry 'em like bacon, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon.
Look, Trevor, they have a Black Lives Matter sign. They are marching along a highway chanting, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon to block traffic. If people choose to associate themselves with this, and they don't denounce it, like you are not denouncing it right now, Trevor, what fucking opinion do you think people outside of this are going to take? I mean, the very least you could do is condemn it in the most strident terms, but you don't. You just simply ignore it. You make excuses and say, well, yeah, but they're not the other people who are saying that white people are the problem. I mean, well, those people aren't rioting until they do riots, and then they're not really a problem. But it's not these other people until they do it. And do you see the point, Trevor? Do you see the problem? Do you see where your apologism is going?
What are you even talking about here? Like this line of reasoning, it's so strange. It's like you're saying that by not completely condemning the movement, he's enabling more rioting and more like fucked up rhetoric, which I don't really think that it is. Those people would be who and what they are if BLM never came along. It wouldn't have mattered. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be an organization focused on reform based around the brutality done by American police forces, which is quite a lot. Like they've killed a lot of people, like a lot. I think we're up to I don't know. We were a little bit under 1,000 last year, and now we're up to 1,000 this year. They're really fucked off, and bullshit like letting them investigate themselves, fucking arrest and citation quotas, the obvious boys club mentality where people are not willing to, even cops, they're not willing to disavow the worst among them, right? Which is a big reason why these people, they get away with things. Even then, you'll see this person has a long record, even if it's not racial, of being an asshole, on the force. And then, and people are reading this, they're like, oh my God, how are they still a cop? Because other cops aren't saying, hey, You're an asshole. Get this guy the fuck out of here. He's making us look bad. And it makes me laugh that you and many BLM critics don't actually talk about the fact that cops do the exact same things. You don't condemn them for not disavowing the worst among them. But BLM, yeah, you gotta check that, man. You gotta fix that, man. You gotta condemn that. But the cops, they're fine. They can. You just leave those guys, all those wild and crazy guys run around kicking people in the face and racially profiling people. That's fine. No. Guys with long records of brutality that they get away with by the skin of their teeth. No, you wouldn't understand. They've got a hard job. Fuck you.
These are a few people. These are a few people. This is not the Black Lives Matter. That is not the platform, though.
Trevor, the platform is not separate to the demonstrators. It is not separate to the people within it. And this is a point that we'll cover a little later on in this video, because you make this point a couple of times, and it's absolutely facile every time you do. But these people are representative of Black Lives Matter. They will undoubtedly have been involved with Black Lives Matter for some time, and the rest of Black Lives Matter accepts them, Trevor. That's the difference. That's why we look at them as representative. The rest of the movement accepts what they're doing as legitimate activism for the movement.
I saw it in my city of Dallas. I saw what a Black Lives Matter protest looked like. And I saw 5 fallen officers because of it. So
that's not fair, and that's true.
No, it is fair, Trevor, because the shooter said, point-blank shooter said he's doing this because of Black Lives Matter.
And he did, Trevor. I'm going to use Wikipedia because A, I'm lazy, and B, it's well sourced, and C, it gives you the mainstream narrative on a series of events. The shooter did say that he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers, because he was upset about recent police shootings and the Black Lives Matter movement. Another former co-worker said he seemed very affected by recent police shootings of black men. A friend said that Johnson had an anger management problem and would repeatedly watch videos of the 1991 beating of Rodney King by police officers. An investigation into his online activities uncovered his interest in black nationalist groups. He's a fucking supremacist, Trevor, or he was. I think he's been shot. And you're making excuses for him. You're making excuses for the movement that radicalized him. If this was a Ku Klux Klan demonstration and one of their members shot a bunch of black people, you would be losing your fucking shit.
No. Yes, but no, but yes, but you're stupid. I can't even with a lot of these points. That is so damn dumb. Are you serious right now? He's making excuses for fucking, I don't know what the fuck is he calling himself, Micah X or whatever the fuck, Micah Xavier. How is he making excuses for him? He just said that it's not fair to brush the entire movement with that particular crime. Yeah, he wanted to kill white officers because they killed black men, but he did not, and he did not want to be a part of BLM. He thinks like other former, known living black more I would say extreme black activists that are still alive that I've been quoted as calling Black Lives Matter to having a plantation mindset. He did not think that it was worth it to protest. All you can do is for better lack of a word, is separate, either by choice or by force. So like either we're gonna leave, right? Or if they don't let us leave, we're gonna make them let us leave. That was his thing. That was his problem with BLM. He thought that they were way too peaceful, and that hold hands kumbaya shit that them and for instance Martin Luther King Jr. thought, right? And he thought that shit didn't solve a fucking thing. And he cited these modern examples of black men being, while being unarmed, being indiscriminately, shot in the back, choked out, etc., being, indicators that kind of rhetoric and methodology of activism doesn't do a damn thing. So no, BLM did not radicalize him. Maybe other sources on the internet, it probably did, but it wasn't BLM, because they actively disavow the idea of waging war on all white people over cops. So no, you're just wrong. You're dumb. And while you're talking about not disavowing certain things, you do know that MLK never actively disavowed the race riots that occurred in places like Detroit, St. Louis, California, parts of the South, etc. He never actively condemned those. He said that, they were terrible and people got hurt and some people died. But a riot is the act of the frustrated, a voice for the unheard. He thought that it best that we find a way to listen to those frustrated voices. So because he did not actively condemn those riots, MLK confirmed terrorists, apologists, the undemocratic, fuck him now, right?
Yes, and there are many things you can say. I mean, if you go outside, you can say anything about doing something because you cannot deny that the man had mental issues as well and he was in a tough place.
Oh, right. I mean, that's what people say about white shooters, isn't it, Trevor? And then people like you, progressives, people who support Black Lives Matter say, oh, that's right. Whenever it's a white shooter, it's someone with mental issues. Obviously, these people have mental issues, Trevor. Obviously. But that doesn't change the fact that the people this person hung around with, the things he was interested in, radicalized him. He didn't start by shooting white people and then going back and saying, I might check out the Black Panthers.
So again, we come into this bullshit. So once again, for Sargon and anyone else, the Black Panther Party did not endorse random violence towards any white person. What they did endorse is shooting racist white people who are posing an actual threat to you. They wanted black people to not be afraid to fight their oppressors. Like he's running around slapping you on the head, calling you boy or whatever. Don't be afraid to shoot him in the face. That's about it. Like if someone wants to put their hands on you, they act like they want to fight, or you catch the cops or something roughing up somebody and you know that they don't have a reason to, don't be afraid to defend yourself. Don't be afraid to defend them. Don't be afraid to defend your community. In fact, some of the first things that they did was listen on a police scanner for something in a black community happening that involved the police, of course, and they would go armed and make sure that the arrests and everything went smoothly, even up to the point of following up to the police station to make sure, because it was very common for someone to do some minor infraction, and if they're black in that time, that especially if the police got a hold of you and you were black, no matter what the littlest thing that you did, you were probably going to come back home, if you ever did come back home, with a fucking broken nose, bruises, whatever, like head trauma, whatever. Like people, they were fucked up. And I mean, it wasn't from the police. It was from some essentially lynch mob, right? So yeah, that's what they were about. Their full name kind of implies that that's what they were about. They're about attacking people who are attacking you and yours, not indiscriminately shooting 5 white cops because they're white. And the mental illness thing, I guess that point went right over your head. It's not about the fact that there are people who have mental illness. It's about the inequality of that talking point being applied. When some black dude in Chicago, arrives to some party and shoots up a thing, and kills 2 people and injures 13, no one even for a second thinks, wow, he must have really been fucked up in the head. It's just part of the course. It's almost like assumed that that's just what black people do, That's the thing. That's the point. Like, see, and then it's almost like it's implied with white people that a lot of people is like, oh, well, that's not normal. White folks are a peace-loving bunch. There must be something wrong with his fucking brain because white people don't do crazy shit like that. Which we all know. We can all just crack open a history book and know that shit's not true, right? Or if you ever been to any low income area that was white, that's not true. Anyway, that's not true. But it's almost like it's implied to be true, that it's natural, it makes sense for the black to be the violent one, and then when the white is violent, he's not just a violent asshole, right? Like the black guy could be, or whatever. He's mentally ill, when it is very likely that, given they both have exhibited antisocial behavior, that they're both mentally ill. But we only hear about that shit when we're talking about a white person. And that's the point. You miss the point. Or you're just stupid, or you're just pandering to your audience. Either way, you missed the point, or purposely obfuscated from it. Either way, crack on with the video.
Just because you say the thing doesn't mean it's what it stands for.
I agree. I agree with you completely, Trevor. Which is why people think actions speak louder than words. And no matter what pretty words come from the mouths of D. Ray McKesson or Sean King, the actions of Black Lives Matter will always be heard more clearly.
Right? Because you're the same person. You're the same person who argued on your show that just because Donald Trump has supporters from the KKK doesn't mean he's in the KKK.
That is not the same thing at all. Donald Trump is a single individual, a political candidate who is supported by many people and has been very clear on his disavowalment of the alt-right and any white nationalist violence that's coming from them. He was very clear on this point. You, as a sympathiser of Black Lives Matter, are refusing to denounce the people who are making you look bad. The people who are actually causing problems. You are refusing to do it. Do you see the difference, Trevor? You can't decide who supports you, I agree. But the people who are, the thought leaders of Black Lives Matter must ostracize those problem groups. You can't allow them to be part of your movement because they will taint it. In the same way that Donald Trump literally had to say...
I'm very surprised to hear that. I hate to hear that. I am so saddened to hear that. And I say stop it. If it helps. I will say this, and I'll say it right to the camera, stop it.
Why aren't you or other mainstream media celebrities who support Black Lives Matter saying the same things to the rioters, looters, and racists in Black Lives Matter? Why are you giving them a free pass? Why are you making excuses for them?
There actually been quite a few people, and including one that comes off the top of the head, which is Kiki Palmer, who supports Black Lives Matter, but does not in any way endorse rioting. Also, those riots are not endorsed by Black Lives Matter. They're disavowed by most of Black Lives Matter, and they're also shown in all footage that most of these people are not with Black Lives Matter. They are people from the surrounding area who would like to get into some shit, such as, looting. That's all that is. Just you and your narrative want them to be the movement so bad. You want that to be what they are. That's not it. During every single one of the riots, you can all you have to do is Google the actual protests, and if you sift through the right leaning whatever's who use pictures of riots to try and tar and feather BLM, every time you look for the actual peaceful demonstrations, you find them in the midst of those riots. These people are not joining them, but in fact still protesting what they came to protest in a peaceful manner. Just because BLM comes to town and some assholes use their protest as an opportunity to express racism towards whites or loot does not mean that BLM endorses it, causes it, or even wants that shit to happen. That's garbage, and that's exactly why it makes sense to use the Donald Trump example. Because just like you would say, just because he brings out white nationalists who might want to, I don't know, shove a black woman and call her a nigger or do a bunch of other shit, doesn't mean that he necessarily endorses it, wants it to happen, or thinks it's a good thing. But once again, this shit just went all the way over your head because of your own biases.
So it goes against that argument. It goes against that. You can't say he did it because of.
No, but the shooter said,
yes, but Black Lives Matter has never said go out and shoot people.
Yes, they have, Trevor. They absolutely have. Did you miss the chant, Trevor? You are talking about Black Lives Matter as if it is some entity that is separate from the people who make up the movement. There are numerous Black Lives Matter websites and organizations, and just because they don't say that they want dead cops on their websites does not mean that there aren't many, many people in Black Lives Matter who do.
Except that chant has been disavowed, and it was never, and has always been explained to you not to have been to be taken as any sort of serious threat or call to action to kill anybody. And once again, Micah X did not like Black Lives Matter, so he didn't go a fuck about their chants, the organization, the shirts, the protests, riots, none of that shit. He thinks that movement was fucking stupid, and all their peace-loving, kumbaya and holding banners bullshit will never solve anything for black people. He's that type of person, on top of probably being mentally ill. That is not how that works, okay? No, that's not what happened. It's just not. No matter how much you want it to be what happened, that's not what happened. Point blank fucking period.
Just because you say the thing doesn't mean it's what it stands for.
And by the same measure, just because you don't say you stand for a thing, doesn't mean you don't actually stand for it, especially if your actions make it look like you stand for that thing. As we have already covered, Trevor, actions speak louder than words. You know it, I know it, and when you have hordes of people all over the United States who support Black Lives Matter and loot and burn and beat and chant that they want dead cops, you have to own it. If you don't, you can't deal with it.
So this shit is just way too long, and most of these talking points have all been addressed by anyone, just about everyone on the left who even talks about Black Lives Matter in general. But there was a compilation that I thought was really fucking cute, left by a guy in Sargon's comment section. He goes by the handle the unapologetic leftist. Sounds like he's maybe maybe like a Caribbean guy or something. But I'm gonna go ahead and we're just gonna skip over the rest of his video. You can watch the rest of it. It's all the links in the description, links to his video, links to the video that I'm about to use now, and all that stuff. That'll be fine. And please know that this isn't me copping out, right? It's more so that these are all points that have been gone over and over, you know? So I really don't see a reason, right? Like I see so many people, even just in his own comment section, like, you know, debunking some of these same talking points, saying the exact same things that I'm saying verbatim. It seems like I'm just going to be echoing those things over and over again, right? And his video has screenshots of all types of vitriol from Sargons and plenty of sources on the bullshit narrative about, you know, essentially blacks deserve to be treated like animals by cops. So yeah, there's that. And so, you know, enjoy this video and this incredibly catchy little tune that he's got planned through most of it. And please watch to the end. Go in the I'll probably put his channel link or something. I think I can put that on the screen here. And yeah, so sub to him, like his video, like this video, sub to me, sub to Sargon if you want, whatever. But yeah, that's that. It's been Mabasei here, signing out. Enjoy the video.
I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me, straight up to my face. Straight up to my face. I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me, straight up to my face. Something ain't right when we talking. It look like you hiding your problems. Really, you never was solving. No, you can't sun me. You won't ever get to run me. Just know when I gotta reach, I reach back like 1-3. Like 1-3, yeah. That's when they smile in my face. Whole time they wanna take my place. Whole time they wanna take my place. Whole time they wanna take my place. Yeah, I know they wanna take my place. I can tell that love is fake, yeah. I don't trust the words you say. How you wanna click up after your mistakes? Look you in the face and it's just not the same. I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face. I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face, trying to play it safe. Vibes switch like 9 day. I can see it like right away. I came up, you changed up. I caught that whole play. Since things never been the same. That's when they smile in my face. Whole time they wanna take my place. Whole time they wanna take my place. Whole time they wanna take my place. Yeah, I know they wanna take my place. I can tell that love is fake. Yeah, I don't trust the words you say. How you wanna click up after your mistakes? Look you in the face and it's just not the same. I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face. I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face.
What a truly sad world we live in, where people are born blank slates, they grow up their whole lives where society tells them not to be racist, the teachers tells them not to be racist, the media tells them not to be racist, the political establishment tells them not to be racist. Everything is designed for them not to be racist, and they still end up racist. Sargon of Akkad, you are a fascist, you are a racist, and you are a despicable human being.